tell it's a video
of course.
game.
Have you ever seen? Okay, there's this new game that came out. It's called Detroit Become Human.
Yes, my friends love it.
What? Like, what else do we need?
I'm talking if you could actually get like an actual physical human being, like
so, like basically just acted movies.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean that's about as where you could go. Or I guess they can expand upon this virtual reality. I think that's the only two viable things they could
PlayStation's
do.
they've been in on VR for a while now, and PlayStation 4 came out in 2013.
2013. That's a long run. That would be a 6-year run. The original NES came out in '85. The Super Nintendo was out in 1990, 91. So, that had a 6-year run as well. They still made NES games for another 3 or 4 years, but I would assume they still make PS4 games, just like they made 360 games while the Xbox One was still out.
I would assume they'd have to make the PS4 games, not backwards compatible,
No, they make the next console backwards
they make the
compatible.
That's what I meant to say. They make the next
PlayStation
console.
5 or whatever it's going to be
PlayStation
called.
5 should be able to play PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know they're not going to because they want this, I don't know what they call the PS4 store, the PlayStation Store. Is that what it is?
Yeah, PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
So the reason why these consoles these days really aren't backwards compatible 100% for the most part is because they release these games, through virtual consoles or
and they
eShops.
remaster them and they do a lot of other things with them. But that's the big thing is that these consoles, are they going to wait? Like, let's say in a year they come out with the Xbox. What do they call it? Also, the Xbox 2.
Oh God,
Xbox
I don't
1,
know.
2?
Xbox 1.5. Could you imagine? Or
Xbox
something
1, 2.
I don't know what.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They better come up with a good name because you don't want another
Xbox
a
720.
Wii U fiasco.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
Xbox U1 original.
Oh, I like that actually.
Xbox
Jesus.
Switch U.
How about X Cube?
Xbox Station 5 Switch Wii Tube.
Help!
Super Xbox Switch.
My number is 123. Help!
5200.
I'm being held against my will.
Yeah, really. But my thing is, what can you really add to make these consoles worth another $500?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Unless
A
you're gonna,
robot that does things to you.
unless you're gonna
Sexy things.
but my thing is what are you gonna add? Are you gonna add
Pleasure bot.
You're gonna add because Microsoft has Cortana, they have Cortana.
Is that not
as
a
their
pleasure
thing.
bot?
She's pretty close. I'm not gonna lie.
So am I. Anyway,
But the big thing is just what else is there for consoles to really do? And also at that point, you gotta say to yourselves at this point,
How did I get here?
where's the line?
why are you buying yourselves another console that essentially does exactly the same thing as the one before it?
Because it's like the iPhone thing, as I sit here with my iPhone X.
But the thing is, the iPhone X, there were a lot of big differences.
I mean, if you play a game from the Xbox 360 when that launched, and you play a game on the Xbox One, you could see the monumental difference. So I would imagine, if you play a game,
but how much better can it get? You're on 4K graphics now.
Hey, it
the
can
Xbox
always get better.
One is on 4K.
How?
You cannot tell that a human being, a normal human being, that's not like a video freak or anything like that, cannot tell the difference between 4 and 8K. You cannot. It's just it doesn't work. Normal person.
Your eyes can only process so much. Eyes.
Most people aren't. Don't look for enough detail. Just like most people aren't audiophiles, and they don't hear the creaking on my phone that freaks me out every time I play audio. Most people don't hear that. Most people hear my phone and go, Joe, it sounds fine to me. But me being an audiophile, I hear that cracking and I want to scream.
A couple of files.
Yeah. People,
not just an audio.
People won't be able to see the difference between 4 and 8K. And it's just you're going to charge people, $700? And that's not cheap equipment right now because it's still new. Everyone thinks this stuff is, it's just 4K. I mean, it's just 4K. We just started making 4K TVs 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
I don't plan on really upgrading my TV.
And then it's also think of it this way. Let's say they upgrade the new consoles to 4K. Right? It's going to be 4K. Everything's going to be 4K. You going to buy a 4K TV now?
Heck no.
That's like $5,000.
That's insane.
$5,000 for a 4K TV. And that's like a crappy 4K TV. These TVs are expensive. Maybe you could buy a really small, like 4K TV for really cheap, but it's like, it's becoming too much. This is, I think you're going to see, the Xbox as the Xbox is and the PlayStation as the PlayStation. I think they're going to collapse.
Yeah,
I think this next console,
they're lumping on too much too fast.
There's just not enough technology out yet. The big thing was that, when HD became a thing. HD becomes a thing. That's huge. Plasma TVs became a thing. That's huge also. So you can work to accommodate that. And like eventually when the Xbox 360 came out was what? Maybe like 5 years after HD or 7 years after HD started, let's say?
Yeah, it was in that same time frame.
Right, like maybe like 5 years maybe,
yeah,
let's say.
Even.
Something like that, right? HD's become a big thing. You bring it out a couple years after it, so that way, everyone's caught up to where technology is. Everyone now has a TV that can do HD. Everyone has a plasma TV. Everyone has these things. 4K is still too new and too expensive.
Yeah.
That's like saying that you put a law out saying everyone needs to buy electronic cars. They cost too much right now. We aren't there yet with technology where we can just say, hey, the new generation that you're going to have to buy to continue to play video games requires this. We're not there yet. Which, if they rush this out and, they just say, hey, next year we're launching a console, it's going to be 4K only, this, this. You're going to ruin yourselves.
Now, they absolutely would not do 4K only. That's stupid. You're right.
Yeah. You know what else is stupid? Naming the next Xbox the Xbox One.
You know what was stupid?
Confusing the world. Or how about making another Star Wars Battlefront and naming it Star Wars Battlefront TM?
What?
For the trademark.
No.
That is the only defining difference between the two titles. One has a trademark next to it, and the other one doesn't.
That's so stupid.
How about Star Wars 2? You know what the difference between Star Wars 2 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 are? One is like the Roman numeral II, and the other one's just a 2. That is the difference. There are stupid people in the video gaming industry right now. There are a lot of very smart companies.
There are people
and stupid ones.
in all industries. You know how they made Halloween in 1977, 78, I want to say? Well, it was called Halloween. That was the name of the movie. Then, Rob Zombie did his remake. You know what it was called?
Halloween.
It was called Halloween. Now they're making a new Halloween. You know what it's called?
Halloween.
It's called Halloween.
Right.
It takes place after the first Halloween. They're kind of saying, all right, Halloween 2 didn't take place, Halloween 3, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween H2O, Resurrection of Mike Myers, whatever. There was Halloween, and now there's a sequel. It's not called Halloween 2, though. It's just called Halloween. Unless they change that, but it's coming out in October.
It's just dumb. I don't, the gaming industry is just a weird industry, and my biggest gripe with it is that there's so much lack of originality going on. It's incredible.
You think of it this way: what more else could you do? There's
a lot you can do.
I mean, I get that, but we've become such a society where, like, in games, you could just copy-paste these things, Like, people don't want these intricate games anymore. Like, if you showed a child today Legend of Zelda, right? A game you got to sit down, you got to figure things out. It's all right. It's nothing special. But, like, it's something you got to sit down and figure out. You actually have to apply your brain to a game like this. They're going to throw it out immediately.
Yeah,
people want games that they're good at immediately now.
Yeah, and for me, that's why a company like Rockstar, a company like Bethesda, just to name two, I guess, right now, are some of my favorite companies because
they don't care.
They don't care what people like.
I never really thought of the Rockstar games. Again, I haven't played the Red Dead games, but like the Grand Theft Auto games aren't very, very difficult. There's not really much problem solving. It's kind of straightforward.
No, but
they do have difficult levels.
But what I'm trying to say is that they don't adhere to, you know what? People like easy games, so we'll make easy games that are just reskins of the one we made last year. We just changed a couple stutter effects, like in Call of Duty. It's the same game every year.
I think you could just make the games bigger. That's something you could do.
Well, that's what they've
the
been
maps
doing.
are just going to be bigger. It's just going to be more expansive.
Yeah, which is what they've been doing with Rockstar Games. Every game has been getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Bethesda as well. Every time they come out with a new Fallout game, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Elder Scrolls, bigger and bigger. Skyrim's one of the biggest games ever made. I think, believe it or not,
get off Skyrim for like 5.
How about this?
Can you do one episode without talking about Skyrim?
How about this? The game not Morrowind. Elder Scrolls 2. Elder Scrolls 2, I don't remember which one. I think it's actually bigger than Skyrim. It's
Still mention Skyrim.
It's crazy. Like these games, Bethesda as a company is like, hey, let's just push this limit as far as humanly possible.
All right, let's move on from these newer games. Let's talk about an old console that's coming back. The NES Classic is returning to GameStop this week. Now, I actually had the opportunity of picking up the NES Classic.
Is it an old console or is it a new console?
It's a new old console.
It's a new emulation of an old console, but it's old news because it happened already.
It happened a few years ago. Everybody was trying to get the NES Classic. They sold out. You couldn't find them anywhere. You sold them on eBay for $300. I must say I actually sold one for $200. So I'm part of the guilty party.
Hey, if it works, it works.
It works, and now they're re-releasing it.
That this industry is dying.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: I'm super excited to get my hands on this.
Sell it again for.
No, I'm not going to do that because I think
$400 this time.
I think they're going to make enough at this point. I don't know if they've changed any of the problems because I know the cords were very small or short rather for the original NES Classic. That was like the one big complaint that people had with the NES Classic. I don't know if they changed the length of the cords, but I'm super excited to get one and hack it. Or at least my buddy will hack it.
Doesn't say you know how to hack it?
No. So my friend actually hacked my SNES Classics, and I have like 100 or 50 games or so on there, and I'm going to do the same with my NES Classic and put. He said he could put the whole NES library on it, so I'm super excited.
Wow,
excited to see that. You know what else I'm excited for to continue this show, which is Nerdvana right here on 90.3 WHPC. My name is Joe Ritter, and I am here with Justin Greenberg and Colton Murray.
Hello.
Yes, so I want to talk about one thing real quickly. One of my favorite shows actually got canceled. Comic Book Men on AMC.
Oh no!
I haven't missed a single episode of that show. There was 96 episodes, and they just canceled it. It's a dang shame because to me that was one of those go-to shows.
Wasn't that Robert
watched.
Bruce?
That was Rob Bruce was on it from time to time, but it's a Kevin Smith created television show.
Kevin Smith.
He had this comic book shop in Red Bank, New Jersey, and it's kind of like Pawn Stars meets Comic Book World. Speaking of Pawn Stars, the old man just passed away.
Old man just died.
He did.
Rest in peace, old man. From
a lot of people dying
from Pawn Stars. And you mentioned what weapon would I use? What fictional weapon could beat a lightsaber?
Yeah.
I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but I would assume a well-trained wizard with a wand would be able to take a Sith.
I don't think so. And here's why.
I don't know Harry Potter.
Because a lot of the Harry Potter abilities are actually kind of practical. Like they're using like the wind. They're like throwing like rocks at each other.
Okay.
They're like shooting lightning at each other. If you shot lightning at a Sith, couldn't he just, in theory, catch the lightning and shoot it back at you?
I actually got a weapon. The Infinity Gauntlet.
Ooh.
No lightsabers beating that. I'm sorry.
Well, Thor did. Thor's weapon was different. I mean,
Thor's weapon would be pretty badass as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd be able to use it, but I think.
I mean, at that point, I think it comes down to who's wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. Is it Thanos versus like Yoda?
Yeah, I got Thanos winning that.
Thanos versus Yoda.
I got Thanos winning most of the Star Wars matchups.
I don't know. Yoda is
literally snap everywhere.
Yoda is a character that even though
Yoda's already dead.
We've seen so much of Yoda that even though even though we've seen so much of Yoda, we don't know exactly what's up with him.
That's why we need a prequel.
Actually, they've put all the prequels on cancel.
God.
Why?
On cancel?
They're canning all of them.
Good.
Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, every single one, because the Star Wars fans are boycotting Solo.
No, because Solo stinks. That's not the reason why they're boycotting it. It wasn't a good movie.
It was just bad.
And the Star Wars fans saw it and they said, I don't need to see this again. It wasn't what I liked. But all the Star Wars fans went and saw that. It was
Star
just the
Wars.
average fan had no desire to see it. It was a character that, again, we're not going to touch upon this again, but I'll say this: the Star Wars fans, they're the ones that watched it,
They're toxic.
and they just didn't want to go back to see it because it wasn't a good movie.
Right.
It was not a good movie.
So they're putting all the prequel movies on canned, which is
the spin-offs, all the spin-offs.
No, like the Star Wars storylines. So like the Rogue Ones, the Han Solos,
Which is good in my opinion, because again, it's too much. And if you have a Star Wars movie twice a year, you get bored of it. If you have ice cream every day, you don't want ice cream.
I like it, but I don't like it because I really
Let's
wanted
go back
to
to having
see.
ice cream once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see.